Chef Jose Andres is founder of World Central Kitchen, which provides food to people in conflict and disaster zones all around the world. The group has been feeding people in Gaza since November 2023 and is now serving 1 million hot meals there every single day.
Wow.
I want to make sure that people understand that this is a bitter-sweet celebration. But if you were with me on the Zoom yesterday with all the teams in Gaza, you see that they are celebrating.
Yeah.
Because hope is the last thing people can lose. And for the Palestinians, not only working with World Central Kitchen, but working with the other NGOs providing relief, it's very important that they see that everyday things are a little bit better. So we've done more than 275 million meals in total in Gaza. Reaching 1 million meals means that almost half of the population receive 1 meal per day, but more is needed.
Yeah.
We need more food. We need more kitchens, more distribution points. It's not cars. Everybody doesn't have a car to drive 5 kilometers away to catch their plate of food. So that's why we have so many kitchens, to make sure that we are near where their people are living in very hard conditions, very often without tents. So again, more is more. We need more food. We need more medicines. We need more medical equipment. We need more tents. The people of Gaza very much still today, they need a lot of things.
Chef, it's still a very dangerous situation there. Do you feel safe? What keeps you going on this?
What are we going to do? We have to be next to the people. We cannot leave them alone. Obviously, the ceasefire happened.
Yes.
President Trump has been leading on these different phases of a peace deal.
Yeah. Do you feel like the ceasefire is holding?
It's still bombings happening.
There's still bombings happening.
I guess we'll need to be asking Israel of the why. But I hope that on this next phase, all bombings stop. We stop killing civilians.
Because you lost also 7 members of World Central Kitchen.
Yeah.
We lost 7. Some of them very good friends. We're still asking, obviously, for keeping the investigation going.
Yes.
And making sure that their families have answers, that this has been very brutal for humanitarians. It's been one of the places in the world where the most humanitarians have lost
Chef,
their lives, providing simple aid to people. So let's hope that this initiative of President Trump gets better every day, that the bombings stop, and that true reconstruction starts yesterday.
Bad Bunny's Super Bowl halftime show wasn't just a performance. It felt like a love letter to Puerto Rico. From the very first seconds, the visuals were already telling a story. The show opens in sugarcane fields. Sugarcane is often linked to difficult chapters in Puerto Rico's history, including outside corporate control, land loss, and economic exploitation. And did you notice the violins in the middle of that setting? That contrast really stands out. Classical European-style instruments placed in a Caribbean landscape, alongside modern Latin music, felt like a quiet way of showing how layered Puerto Rican identity really is. Then we moved to the casita, the small, colorful concrete house you see across Puerto Rico, especially in rural areas. It's more than a backdrop. It symbolizes traditional Puerto Rican living, family roots, and community. And it shows up a lot in Benito's recent work. Turning the casita into the center of a huge party felt intentional, a celebration of culture and staying connected to roots. One of the most talked about surprises? A live wedding moment built into the performance. A real couple, real ceremony, right there as part of the show. It wasn't just a sweet TV moment. Weddings are community rituals, celebrating family, music, and continuity. And in places like Puerto Rico, shaped by migration, they also symbolize staying, building, and passing culture forward. Ricky Martin added another powerful layer as a Puerto Rican icon performing Bad Bunny's Lo Que Le Paso a Hawaii, a song that warns about Puerto Rico following Hawaii's path, tackling issues like cultural loss and over-tourism. The visuals highlighted Puerto Rico's ongoing power outages and struggling electrical grid, and when El Apagón played, it made the message about these real-life challenges even clearer. Near the end, Bad Bunny broadened the message to all of America as a continent. He closed the show with a shout-out stretching from Chile to Canada, while flags from across the Americas paraded behind him. On the screen, the words, "The only thing more powerful than hate is love," appeared, echoing one of his speeches at the 2026 Grammys.
The hate get more powerful with more hate. The only thing that is more powerful than hate is love.
"What I'm feeling goes beyond myself," Bad Bunny said in a statement released by the NFL. "It's for those who came before me and ran countless yards so I could come in and score a touchdown. This is for my people, my culture, and our history. Ve y dile a tu abuela que seremos el halftime show del Super Bowl," which means, go tell your grandma we'll be the Super Bowl halftime show.
A 15-foot gold-leafed statue of US President Donald Trump, dubbed Don Colossus, is now at the center of a money and copyright dispute.
Now, this has left the statue stranded in a sculpture studio in the state of Ohio. The bronze monument, worth $360,000, shows Trump raising his clenched fist moments after surviving the assassination attempt at a 2024 campaign rally. Commissioned by crypto investors backing a pro-Trump meme coin, the statue now lies on its back as an unfinished gold structure.
Sculptor Alan Cottrell accuses the project's backers of using images of the statue to promote their cryptocurrency without permission. He calls it an ongoing violation of his copyright.
What I didn't know was that all along the crypto bros had planned on launching a token, a meme token, whatever you call it, using the images of this statue as the selling point for their token. Well, they didn't have the rights to use the image of my original piece of art for monetary gain.
The 73-year-old artist says he is still owed about $92,000 and refuses to release or install the work. He said, and I'm quoting, "I would be a fool to install it without payment."
And I've said this statue will not be shipped out of my foundry, and I'm not going to install it until you're all paid up.
Well, the meme coin, launched on a wave of Trump enthusiasm, has since collapsed, losing more than 95% of its value. The standoff has now exposed the high risks associated with mixing high-value art with volatile digital finance. Once pitched as a gleaming symbol of loyalty and political bravado, the Don Colossus now sits in limbo.
She was, Marie. She did not speak publicly, though she has just come back from testifying in D.C. just a few days ago. She did say that she felt like it was incumbent upon her to speak out after she was shot, but even more so after the shooting deaths of Alex Preddy and Renee Good. Now we'll also be able to hear from some of the agents that were involved in her shooting from body camera video and also from text messages.
And this man, after shooting a woman who did nothing, is going to text his friends and joke about it? Brag about it? Put it in your book?
Marimar Martinez's attorney describes the text messages he says he's already read that are about to be made public.
Hateful, disgusting language about a woman that he shot while wearing the uniform of Border Patrol.
A judge ruling it's not just texts, but also video and other evidence from the day she was shot back on October 4th.
You guys can see how our government responds, right, in the immediate aftermath of one of these shootings.
Martinez was accused of ramming a DHS vehicle. The government later admitting in court that Martinez wasn't ramming their car at all. Now attorneys from both sides will sift through hundreds of texts preparing for their release. Attorneys for the government tried to argue that releasing those messages could harm the officer involved, Charles Exum, who shot Martinez. The judge ruled some people's identities will be redacted, but said she was not concerned about Exum's reputation. She said the government showed zero concern about the damage to Martinez's reputation when they previously made public statements about her.
These are people that are sworn to protect U.S. citizens. There's a respect for life policy with Border Patrol.
Now, Marie, Martinez's attorney says that Agent Exum was not wearing a body camera at the time of the shooting, but other agents who were on the scene and around all of this were. So they're hopeful at least some of the evidence that includes the body camera, the text messages, some even photos will be made public by Monday.
Neçə dənə qız dünyaya gələndən sonra dadam yol gözlürdü ki, oğlu ola. Amma mənlə qız oldu. Dadamla təsmim tutdu, məni o yerlərə apara ki, fəqət oğlanlar gedə bilərdi.
Sara sen geldiler şour olurlar. Sen gelsen şour olsan sen rehin çok olur.
Olmaz, cür gelmez bizim. Ahtakkellerimiz kalacağından kalkacak təsmim girəndə.
Diyərəm bilə, nereye gebele ya? Alın bak biz 5 nəfərik.
Hocam mənə zəyim burada məhvub səhərə şour şey.
Kəndə cavanlarınla tayfa tükəndi.
Sanki bizim bir ata babadan vardı. Hayatın senatı yarısın buraya kadar yol getiriyor, onu kontrol eden.
شما خودتون رو در این حد ببینید که میخواید دکتر بشید، میخواید معلم بشید، میخواید مهندس بشید. حاضرین همتون دیگه؟ همimiz زرنگید. همimiz başara bildik. Hamının elinden gelir.
Anlaşa bucu bağla, o.
Adam ola, tabiyle dünya ne kadar.
Çağırgışı götüreyim meydan çıkardırak. Her ne benim kutu olmaz ki.
Bunlar çatanla beni ağzına gelen değiller. Ben onu eyleyebilmem.
Mücadele namı gerekçene dotgahdan. Üzerine samiyelinden şikayet edeyim.
Bunlar benim hüviyyətimi zirə sual aparır. O zat ki, döyləm, istirlər olam. Ola istirlər, mənə təğyir verirlər.
Mən istəm səni bəhr olam.
Ya.
Vallahi.
Trump's murderous ICE thugs are out of control. And many of you are wondering what we can do right now to rein them in. We can start by boycotting ICE's corporate collaborators that are profiting from the agency's cruelty. ICE is flush with funding thanks to the big ugly bill enacted last year, and much of that money is going to hundreds of corporations in the form of government contracts. These corporations are providing ICE with everything from facial recognition software used for surveillance to the bed linens used at detention centers. Here's where you come in. Some of the biggest corporations you can boycott include Amazon, which provides the cloud computing and storage capabilities that power ICE's deportation machine, AT&T, which gives ICE mission-critical communications capabilities, data analytics, and support services according to its various contracts with the Department of Homeland Security, and Dell, which supports ICE's chief information officer by providing the agency with software and other IT services. You can search usaspending.gov to find out more information and to see if any locally owned businesses where you live are working with ICE. Please boycott these corporations and pressure them to stop collaborating with Trump's murderous regime. All of us must also speak out, whether it be through peaceful demonstrations, social media posts, or signing and sharing petitions to help inform the public. Public pressure can force corporations to do the right thing. On top of pressuring corporations to stop collaborating with this regime, we must also pressure Congress to rein in ICE, demand greater transparency and accountability, as well as independent investigations into ICE and Border Patrol's brutality. Ban immigration agencies from roaming our streets with weapons. We need to push our elected leaders to replace our broken immigration system with one that respects human dignity. America shouldn't have armed, masked agents in unidentified vehicles violently terrorizing our communities. It's time to abolish ICE. This only happens if we show up at the midterm elections this year and support candidates who will stand up to Trump, ICE, and their corporate collaborators.
Imagine a house where, when damaged, you can top up a wall by reapplying a layer of the original building material. Not only that, but for cob structures, the material which make up cob are typically dug on site, and the final structure is fully recyclable and biodegradable, making it about as green as it can get. It is believed original cob work dates back to the 11th and 12th centuries in Afghanistan, which has the oldest man-made cob structures. Cob consists of a mixture of clay, sand, straw and water, and is generally used to create sculptural artistic forms due to the ease of creating rounded shapes. Then the advent of the Industrial Revolution meant bricks and other materials became more readily available, so cob's popularity diminished. However, recently it has started to regain traction in eco-building movements. In wetter climates, cob is a better alternative, as shown by the thousands of cob homes in the UK which have stood weathering for over 800 years. Cob walls are a good store of humidity as they effectively absorb moisture from the atmosphere and release it again when the air dries out. So there are also some potential drawbacks to using cob. So those include a very slow construction process, as cob walls should be left to dry for approximately 1 week, weather dependent, after 2 to 3 feet of vertical construction before new layers are applied. And when this happens, the walls will shrink slightly as they lose some of the water content. Secondly, after construction is complete, you'll also need to wait for the walls to completely dry out, as otherwise moisture levels in the house will be dangerously high, and that can take up to 2 years. Thirdly, construction cannot take place in wet weather, and the home will need an adequate roof or protection from the rain, as cob is very susceptible to water damage, hence why it's suggested that there is a roof with ample overhang. On top of that, maintenance will be a lot more labour intensive than a typical home, due to potentially having to reapply layers, and to pass Part L insulation performance requirements for building requirements in the UK, walls will need to be about 3 feet thick, unless some insulation is added in. So the cost of a standard cob house ranges quite a bit dependent on the availability of materials at the site, but it can range from £50 to about £2,000 per square metre, when the biggest factor affecting that is also the cost of labour. So taking the average, we can say it's about £1,025 per square metre, whereas the average UK house costs £2,375 per square metre. So both these costs exclude the cost of planning permission, which could be harder to attain at the moment for cob houses, as they are far less common. Whilst I don't see cob replacing standard building materials for at least the next few years, if more focus is put on meeting building regulations, sustainable methods for producing cob and building with it can be established.
Fascism depends on everyday people complying, and I'm not going to fucking comply.
In Hutchins, Texas, residents just successfully blocked the conversion of a 1 million square foot warehouse into an ICE detention center that would have held more than 9,000 detainees in a town of 8,000 people. Paid for by your tax dollars.
A warehouse is conducive only for storing food, produce. It is not for people.
We're gonna get an ICE detention center before we get a grocery store in Hutchins? Are you kidding me?
For weeks, Hutchins residents have been mobilizing to stop Majestic Realty from selling their warehouse to DHS. Does Hutchins have enough infrastructure to support 9,000 people?
The city of Hutchins does not have the infrastructure. The taxpayers would have to cover the cost.
Our tax dollars are going to our neighborhood getting kidnapped. Kids are going to school in fear. It's a reign of terror, and it's not okay.
This is a community that doesn't even have a grocery store, and you're going to build a warehouse to house human beings or packages.
Last April, Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons said that he wants ICE to function more like Amazon Prime, but with human beings.
Stand with the city of Hutchins, because what's here today will be in your neighborhood tomorrow.
The deal between Majestic Realty and Hutchins is over.
Pressure campaigns against warehouse owners in Oklahoma and Virginia have also been successful. And while these residents are undoubtedly showing us the blueprint for how to push back on warehouse owners and win, these fights are continuing at an unprecedented pace across the country. The Department of Homeland Security is armed with $45 billion from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act to take over up to 23 facilities across the country to detain up to 80,000 more people. As of today, DHS has already purchased warehouses in Arizona, Georgia, Maryland, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Texas. These communities are still exploring legal tactics to keep these facilities from opening and will continue to report on new developments as they happen.
I hope that more people show up. More everyday regular people need to resist.
Stand up! Fight back! Stand up! Fight back! Stand up! Fight back! Stand up!
Now let's shift our focus to Texas, where a sudden El Paso International Airport shutdown lasting 2 days has raised serious questions. What happened at the airport is not fully clear, and the explanations don't seem to match. Well, later on Tuesday night, US aviation officials closed the airspace over El Paso. All flights were stopped. The order was meant to last 10 days. It covered a large area around the city, and pilots were warned to stay away for security reasons.
When I called the airline in the morning, they told me the airport would close for 10 days, and I have my flight now after midday.
But
then just hours later, the restriction was lifted. Flights slowly returned, and confusion began to grow. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said the shutdown happened after a cartel drone entered US airspace. The Federal Aviation Administration said it had flown in from Mexico. He claimed authorities acted fast and that the threat had been neutralized. It sounded like a serious border security scare, but local leaders were not convinced. Several US representatives said the story just did not add up. Then another version of events started to emerge. Several US media reports suggested the shutdown was linked to a military test, saying the Pentagon was testing a new anti-drone system near an airbase close to the airport. Aviation officials were worried. They feared the system could interfere with civilian flights.
You cannot restrict airspace over a major city
without coordinating with the city, the airport, the hospitals, the community leadership. That failure to communicate is unacceptable.
That created tension between defense officials and aviation regulators. So, to avoid any risk, flights were stopped. Now, several US media reports even suggested that the device, which was deployed to counter the alleged drone, was a type of laser. But it later turned out to be nothing more than a party balloon. Well, Mexico also pushed back on the claims. President Claudia Sheinbaum said her government was investigating, but that there was no evidence of Mexican drones crossing the border.
There were reports the airport was closed due to the use of drones by a cartel.
There is no information about drone use at the border.
Well, experts say drones near the border are not unusual. Drug cartels are known to use them for surveillance and smuggling. But shutting down a major city's airspace for several days is almost unheard of. That's why the sudden order shocked so many people. So for now, flights are back. The skies over El Paso are open again. But one big question remains. Was it a drone threat from across the border? Or was the intruder coming from within?
A railway line linking Warsaw to southeastern Poland was damaged by a weekend explosion that the Prime Minister is calling an act of sabotage. A train driver on the line between Warsaw and Lublin reported track irregularities yesterday. Further inspection determined there was damage to a section of track near a village about 100 kilometers southeast of Warsaw. Officials say no injuries were reported. Poland's Prime Minister, who visited the site, says that the line is crucially important for delivering aid to Ukraine.
Nie ma niestety wątpliwości, że mamy do czynienia z aktem dywersji. Na szczęście nie doszło do tragedii, ale sprawa jest bardzo poważna. Na miejscu jest policja, CBS, prokuratura, eksperci badają każdy szczegół tej sprawy. Niestety, jak wiemy już w tej chwili, do podobnego zdarzenia mogło dojść również na południowy wschód od tego miejsca, na tej samej trasie kolejowej, gdzie również mieliśmy do czynienia z próbą destabilizacji i zniszczenia infrastruktury kolejowej, która także mogła doprowadzić do katastrofy kolejowej.
Prawdopodobieństwo, że dzieje się to na zlecenie obcych służb, jest bardzo wysokie i decyzje prokuratury kwalifikujące to zdarzenie również to potwierdzają. Te zdarzenia pokazują, że zleceniodawcy postanowili rozpocząć nowy etap zagrażania infrastrukturze kolejowej.
Bo to już była godzina 21, może parę minut po 21. Oglądałem sobie akurat telewizję, no i usłyszałem strasznie potężny wybuch. No, zadrżało całym budynkiem, szybami, nawet te tam szklanki, nie szklanki, co wszystko jest tam, wie pani, w tym segmencie, to wszystko tak zadrżało. No nie wiedzieliśmy, co się stało. No takie pierwsze wrażenie, żona do mnie też podeszła, mówi, jakiś wybuch. No żeśmy tu zaczęli się rozglądać w okolicy. Mówię, czy gdzieś butla by z gazem wybuchła, czy jakiś wypadek, czy jakieś coś tego, ale nic nie było widać, była cisza.